A small seed of consciousness once entered the pre-human mind. Not loud, not bright, just a flicker. But from that flicker, a fire. It grew and grew and grew into thought, into memory, and then into intention, into action and story, and eventually into humanity itself. From this seed, our earliest ancestors painted myths on cave walls. They mourned the dead. They gazed at the stars and asked one eternal question: why? To feel pain is natural. To grieve, to love, these are familiar. But to wonder why we exist, that is something altogether different. That is consciousness. And with it came longing, a longing for answers, for meaning, and for comfort. Unable to fully grasp the infinite, we created stories to explain it. We turned inward and met gods, made in our own image, deities that explained the unknowable. And from these beliefs, religion was born. But over time, belief became structured. Ritual became rule. Power grew in sacred robes. And the search for meaning became an instrument of control. Religion is not inherently evil. It is born of our deepest needs. But when institutionalized, when wielded as law, as empire, it divides and oppresses. The Crusades alone left over 5 million dead, fought in the name of salvation. The 30 Years' War, 8 million lost, not just soldiers, but civilians, clergy, and even children. Even today, the names change, but the blade remains the same. From Gaza to Myanmar, faith fuels division. Because religion, when merged with identity and power, can make neighbors into enemies and conflict into duty. It isn't belief that kills. It's the idea that only one belief is true. For centuries, religion has shaped law and morality, sometimes for good, but often for power. In the United States, slaveholders quoted scripture to justify bondage, verses like Genesis 9, where Noah curses generations into servitude. In India, the caste system finds roots in religious texts, assigning humans personal worth based on birth, placing millions into generational invisibility, untouchables, denied basic dignity. And women, across cultures and faiths alike, religion has too often placed them second. Dogma, codified, oppression, and sacred text was made law. Religion doesn't just shape law, it has shaped truth by deciding who may speak it. Galileo saw the planets move. The church saw heresy. He was silenced, arrested, not because he was wrong, but because he dared to challenge the sacred doctrine. The echo remains. Today, some religious groups still reject evolution, resist science in genetics, medicine, or reproductive health. Because when authority fears truth, truth is labeled sin, and knowledge becomes its own rebellion. What happens when power hides behind holiness? Between 1950 and 2018, over 7,000 U.S. priests were accused of child abuse. 7,000. Not just acts themselves, but the cover-ups, the silence, the sanctioned and sanctified protection of predators. This spiritual abuse, where trust becomes a weapon and sacredness becomes a shield for sin, the same structure that inspired awe has now inspired fear. Kings claim divine right, crushing dissent in the name of heaven. To question the monarch was to question God themselves. In Salem, religious panic led to 20 executions. Innocents hanged for imagined sins. This is the danger of unchecked belief. When faith becomes hysteria, when authority replaces inquiry. Can we reform belief? So what now? Can institutions built on control be healed? Or must they be dismantled entirely? Some say reform is possible, to strip faith of hierarchy, to preserve meaning without power. Others say no. A structure built on fear, on silence, on obedience must be replaced altogether. Whatever the answer, it begins with one truth. We must put human dignity above ancient dogma. We must choose freedom over fear. This is not a war on belief, but a call to reimagine it. Religion was born from a question. Why? But now perhaps the question must evolve, because we no longer dwell in caves. We no longer need fear of lightning and its wrath. We have learned, we have grown. The new question is not why, but what now? What will we do with our knowledge, our compassion, our awareness of one another? Let us build belief not on fear, but on empathy, not on dogma, but dialogue. Let us recognize that while humanity is capable of cruelty, we are also capable of unimaginable grace and elegance. And maybe, just maybe, the final purpose of our consciousness is not only to ask questions, but to care enough to seek better answers.